but they were not involved in these two key operations here. Now, OPN just means operation, so there were two key major targeting operations in the Vietnam War. The first one was Operation Rolling Thunder, and the second one, shortly afterwards, was Operation Linebacker. And those were major military bombing campaigns made famous by the dropping of napalm, well known for that, of course, in which they pounded North Vietnam for many years, all the way from, early in the 68, but especially from 68 to 1971. But military lawyers, interestingly, other than in the Navy, weren't involved in those operations. Interestingly, looked at all of the documents, looked at the archives, and they weren't involved. But the legacy of Vietnam is really interesting for another reason. They weren't involved in targeting, the military lawyers, but in terms of this wider history which we're tracing, the most important thing that happened in Vietnam was actually the well-known and documented case of the Maile Massacre that might be familiar to you. This is an image taken from part of the Maile Massacre, in which US troops walked into a village one early morning, the village of Maile in the region of Vietnam, and actually killed and massacred 400 civilians in cold blood, raped women, set fire to homes, as you can see here. And this was obviously a war crime. It was a documented war crime, although no one really, other than one soldier, Lieutenant Calley, was punished for those crimes. And it was important for our reason because of what this quote says here. So they launched an inquiry into what happened in Maile. This was called the Peers Inquiry. And the Peers Inquiry found, and this is what this quote here is referring to by the historian Friedrich Borch, he says that the ramifications of the tragedy on the army were far-reaching because, as the Peers report found, that inadequate training in the laws of war was a contributory cause for the killing. So one of the findings there was they didn't have proper training in the laws of war. If they did, maybe they wouldn't have committed the crimes.